Welcome to this explainer. I am so thrilled you're joining us today because we're about to completely dismantle a massive myth that catches way too many first-year students off guard. We're talking about the dangerous assumption that the exact same study techniques that got you through high school are somehow going to survive the intense rigor of university. Spoiler alert, they absolutely won't. If you want to achieve top grades, you've got to fundamentally change how you interact with information. Today, we're looking at the hard data from cognitive psychology and figuring out exactly how to use modern tools like Gemini Notebook and Anki to totally hack the university transition.
Okay, let's dive into this because this quote perfectly captures the reality check every single high achiever needs. A lot of students exhaust themselves aiming for a near-perfect ATAR, thinking it's the ultimate finish line. But an elite ATAR is literally just the height requirement at an amusement park like Luna Park. It gets you through the front gate so you can compete for degrees like medicine or law, but it doesn't guarantee your success once you're actually on the ride. Once you meet that threshold, you're in a completely new environment where everyone is just as smart as you are and the game is entirely different.
Here's our roadmap for today. 1. The uni reality check. 2. Why rereading fails. 3. The spaced repetition solution. 4. Building your Anki engine. And 5. Earning a high distinction.
Section 1. The uni reality check, where we look at how the rules are rewriting themselves.
And this brilliantly illustrates why that leap from high school to university is such a jarring game changer. In high school, you have a comfortable year-long focus. You're largely teacher-driven, you're guided through the curriculum step by step, and you usually have easy access to years of past papers to practice on. University, it's the total opposite. You're suddenly dealing with these intense 10 to 13-week crash courses per semester. It's completely self-motivated. Literally, no one is checking if you did your required readings. And often, past exam papers are hitting or heavily restricted by the university. Basically, you have significantly less time to digest a much larger volume of complex information.
Plus, the grading scale is way less forgiving. At Australian universities, a minimum passing mark is 50%. Sure, a pass is a pass. But if you're aiming for the top, you want the HD, the high distinction. That requires scoring anywhere from 80 or 85% up to 100%, depending on your specific institution. It's the highest grade available, and it's awarded strictly for exceptional understanding and performance, not just a basic regurgitation of facts you skimmed the night before.
So, the absolutely crucial point here is understanding the difference between your GPA and your WAM. Your GPA, or grade point average, operates on a 7-point scale using discrete points. This means a student who scrapes by with an 86% high distinction and a student who completely masters the subject with a 99% high distinction, well, they both get the exact same 7.0 GPA points for that class. But your WAM, your weighted average mark, tracks your raw percentage. WAM preserves that exact number, meaning that 99% is heavily weighted in your favor over an 85%. When it comes to highly competitive honors admissions or elite graduate jobs, your WAM is the metric that truly separates you from the pack.
Section 2. Why rereading fails and why we need to rethink everything about studying.
I want you to really think about how you studied for your last major test. Did you just read through your textbook, maybe highlight some key passages in neon yellow, and then read those exact same notes over and over again the night before? If you did, why do you think that method completely fails you when you sit down in the exam hall and your mind just goes blank? The answer actually lies in how our brains process memory.
Enter your absolute worst enemy, the forgetting curve. This is a scientific model of memory retention, and it shows that knowledge degrades incredibly rapidly if no active attempt is made to keep it. If you cram the night before just by reading a textbook, it might feel productive in that exact moment, but the information doesn't stick. Without any intervention, your brain simply wipes the slate clean, leaving you stressed and panicked during the actual exam. To combat this, researchers at the Iverson lab evaluated various learning techniques. And the results? They're eye-opening. Think about those low-utility methods: summarization, highlighting, and rereading. These are arguably the most common strategies students use. Yet science tells us they are highly inefficient because they're totally passive. Now consider the high-utility methods: practice testing and distributed practice. These force your brain to actively recall information, fundamentally strengthening your neural pathways. It proves exactly why active recall beats passive rereading every single time.
Section 3. The spaced repetition solution, or how we conquer the forgetting curve.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because this is how you construct a bulletproof memory. Spaced repetition works by reviewing material at gradually increasing intervals. Say you learn a topic on day 0. Your first review is day 1, right when that forgetting curve is at its steepest. Your second review is day 3, then day 7, day 14, and finally day 30. The entire goal here is to force your brain to work incredibly hard to recall the information right before it's about to forget it. The harder your brain works to remember, the stronger the long-term memory becomes. Now, if you're a fan of physical flashcards, you can implement spaced repetition using what's called the Lightner system. You basically create 5 boxes. All new cards start in box 1, which you review every single day. If you get a card right, it graduates to box 2, which you review every 2 days. Get it right again, it moves to box 3, and so on. But, and here's the kicker, if you get a card wrong at any stage, it drops all the way back to box 1. It's this brilliant, self-correcting system that ensures you're spending the most time studying your weak spots and way less time on the stuff you already know. While many students start out with a manual Google Sheets method to test themselves, like typing questions in one column and hiding answers in the next, you can completely upgrade your workflow by setting up Gemini Notebook for your units. Instead of manually typing everything into a spreadsheet, you can literally upload your lecture PDFs and transcripts directly into Gemini Notebook and just prompt it to generate custom active recall quizzes for you instantly. It seamlessly blends active recall with modern AI, drastically cutting down your exam prep time. A real game changer. Section 4. Building your Anki engine and automating that active recall. When you set up Anki, which is a powerful spaced repetition software for a university subject, you really want to create 2 distinct decks. First, your theory deck. You can take those custom quizzes you just generated in Gemini Notebook and drop them right in here to lock down core concepts and definitions. Second, you need a question deck. This is absolutely crucial. When you do practice exams, take screenshots of the specific questions you got wrong. Put the question on the front of a card and the solution, along with a note on exactly why you got it wrong, on the back. Reviewing your question deck weekly is the ultimate way to iron out those silly mistakes before the mid-semester or final exams. Now, what's really interesting about this is how specific Anki add-ons can totally transform studying from a boring chore into an addictive, gamified habit tracker. Image Occlusion Enhanced lets you take complex diagrams like a massive chemical reaction or a map of human anatomy and instantly hide the labels, forcing you to actively guess what's underneath. The progress bar visualizes your study session, tapping directly into that dopamine loop of completing a task. And the review heat map tracks your daily study streaks, making sure you don't want to break your momentum. When you are running your Anki engine, your single daily goal is this exact number: 0. By the time your head hits the pillow, you want your due cards in Anki to sit at absolute 0. This means you have successfully completed your spaced repetition schedule for that particular day. It might take 15 minutes, or it might take an hour. But hitting 0 means the algorithm is perfectly optimized and you are officially beating that forgetting curve. Section 5. Earning a high distinction. Let's look at the holistic habits you need. Advice from top students at the Australian National University perfectly outlines the broader habits required for an HD. Yes, you absolutely need your optimized Anki study engine, but you also need to step out of your bubble. Participate actively in group work to deepen your understanding. Connect with peers to bounce ideas around. Crucially, prep for your lectures in advance. Remember, no one is holding your hand anymore. You've got to proactively manage your time to beat procrastination triggers, and honestly, don't hesitate to leverage campus resources. Schedule a session with a learning advisor to perfect your academic writing. So, as we wrap up this explainer, I leave you with this final, highly crucial question to ask yourself the very next time you sit down at your desk. Are you just passively rereading a textbook, highlighting sentences, and hoping for the best? Or are you actively hacking your brain with tools like Gemini Notebook, practice testing, and spaced repetition to basically guarantee that high distinction? The science is incredibly clear here. The tools are completely free, and they're waiting for you. It is time to ditch those high school habits and start building your university study engine today.